What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up an employee onboarding system using make.com. Let's get started. The first automation that we're going to create is an automation that adds potential employees to monday.com. I'm using monday.com as our CRM. I've created a board and renamed it to potential employees list. After we have created a job posting of a particular position in our company, all those people who apply for that job, we will add them to this board right here. On Typeform, I've created this form and renamed it to employee hiring form. After they click the link, they will be taken to this form right here, where we're telling them, welcome to Lux Automation. Over the next 2 minutes, we'll help you fill in this form. And then the purpose of this form is to collect their data. So here, we are collecting their first name, last name, phone number, email, and company name. And this is the data that we're collecting it and adding it to our potential employee list on monday.com. I'll click on share. Then I'll copy the link to this form and paste it on a new tab. Then after pasting the link on a new tab, we can set up the automation right here that will capture the responses from Typeform and add those responses to our monday.com CRM. So here, I'll search for Typeform. I'll watch responses. So you can either choose ACID or the one that has the instant. One that says instant, it captures the responses instantly. I'll click on watch response ACID. I'll create a connection between make.com and Typeform. So here, I'll rename our form to hiring form connection and then click on save. You'll be prompted to choose the account that you'd like to connect to make.com. Then after connecting the account, your connection will be created. And then here you'll have to choose your form ID. So I'll choose our employee hiring form and then click on OK. And I'd like to start from now. So I'll click on OK. Now we're going to list responses. But before we list responses, I'd like to delay the module by, let's say, 3 seconds. And then click on OK. On Typeform, can list our responses that we're going to capture over here. Our form is still going to be employee hiring form. For the limit, you can limit it to 1 and then click on OK. On our form, I'll click on start. And then here we can fill in the details. First name, you can say Daniel, Frank. Here I will add their phone number. And then you can write their email. You can say Dan, Frank at danx.com. You can say he works at danx. And then here, I'll submit of on make. I'll run automation. Here, you can see that we are getting our responses right here. So we're getting his first name, last name, phone number, email, and company he works in. Then we're delaying for 3 seconds, and then we are listing the responses over here. Now with the responses, we can add our potential employee to Monday. I'll search for Monday and then search for create an item. You'll need to create a connection between Monday and make.com like we did with Typeform, just by clicking on add and then renaming your connection and then adding your API key right here. Now, to get your API key on Monday, just click on your profile, and then click on administration, and click on connection, and then API, and then you'll see your API token right here. All you have to do is copy it, and then paste it right here. But since I had already created a connection, I'm going to close it and choose my connection right here, which is employee hiring connection. Now for the item name, I'll add the first and last name of our potential employee. So here, I'll click on Daniel, and then space, and then Frank, and then our board ID. Our board ID is going to be potential employee list. So here, I'll search for potential employee list. And then for the group ID is potential employee list. And then we can choose the columns and the column value that you'd like to add to Monday. So let's assign if this one we can just assign to a member of our team. In this case, I just assign the employees to me. And then for the column ID, this time around we can add the company they work in. Then we can add the value of the company. Add another item and choose another column. This one we can see date created. And for the date, you can see the submitted ad. And then choose another column. And then you can say email as our column ID. And then let's add the value for the email, which is this email. Even for the text, we can add the email text. And then for the first name, we're going to add the value for first name. Then add another item. This time around, we choose last name. Then we can add the value for the last name. And then can add their phone number. and then add the value for their phone number. We can add the country code as US, and lastly we can add their status. The status will be intake. In this example, we're going to label it, and then we'll label them as intakes. These are just potential employees. We're just collecting them and adding them to Monday. To add Daniel to our CRM, I'll choose our previous response and then click on OK and then run automation. You can see that our automation ran successfully and we added Daniel to our monday.com CRM. So now when I go to our potential employees list on monday.com, you'll see we have a new potential employee whose name is Daniel Frank. We added them on the 1st of October just now. Their status is intake. We have their first name, last name, company name, email, and phone number. With our potential employee added to a CRM, we can create another automation that sends our potential employees interview questions for them to fill in via email. I've created an employee onboarding system folder on make.com. So here, I'll create a new scenario. I've renamed our scenario to send interview questions to potential employees. Now, here, I'll create a webhook that is triggered after one of our potential employees' status changes to send interview questions. Here, I'll click on webhooks and then click on custom webhook. I'll click on add and then I'll rename our webhook to interview questions. And then click on save. And then I'll copy the link of the webhook. And then on Monday, I'll click on integrate. And then click on webhooks. And then we'd like to send our webhook when the status changes to something. So I'll use that as our template. And then here, I'll paste the link that we just copied. And then I'll run our webhook. And then here, I'll click on connect. You can see it says fail to communicate with the URL provided. Yeah, I'll return these text right here using a webhook response. So on webhooks, I'll click on webhook response. And then I'll return the text. And then here, I'll click on OK. And then run our webhook again. And then on Monday, I'll click on connect. You can see it ran successfully, so I can delete the response and then set up a webhook. So we'd like to send our webhook when the status changes to send interview questions, and then click on create automation. Now with our webhook set up, let us test this and see if it's working properly. So I'll run it and then change one of our potential employees' status to send interview questions. You can see it ran successfully and we are getting the specific employee that we just changed the status, but we are not getting their data like email, phone number, or their first and last name. Now to get their data, I'll copy this Paul's ID, and then here I'll search for Monday and then search for get an item, and then click on get an item module. And then for the ID, I'm going to add our Pulse ID, and then for the board ID, we're going to search for the potential employee list, board ID, and then click on OK. Now I'll run this module by pasting our Pulse ID that we just copied from our webhook, and then click on OK. Now you can see we're getting the details right here, like first name, last name, company name, their email, and their phone number. Now we can send them interview questions after sourcing them from our Google Drive. So here, I'll search for Drive, and then click on Google Drive, and then I'll search for files. On Google Drive, I have created this folder called Employee Documents. So here, we have assignments, interview questions, an onboarding checklist, an onboarding form, and training materials. So here, we'd like to sort the interview questions for them to fill in. So back to automation, here, I'll choose our folder, which in this case is Employee Documents. I like to retrieve files and folders. We can search using full text search and then search for the specific file. So in this case, it's interview questions. And then we can limit it to 1 and then click on OK. So we can rename this to get interview questions and then click on OK. Now on Google Drive, we can create a share link that we are going to send our employees via email. Our file ID is going to be this file ID over here. Role, we can say reader, and then we can say none with the link, and then click on OK. We can rename this to create a link, and then click on OK. And then here, we can send now the interview questions via email to our potential employees. So on email, I'll search for send an email module. And then here, I'll rename this email to send interview questions. And then click on OK. Now, for the email address, we're going to get the email address from Monday. So we're going to get the email address over here. And then the subject line of the email could be on the lines of interview questions for marketing specialists role. Maybe the job position that they're applying is the marketing specialist position in our agency. The content of the email could be on the lines of hi, first name. And then the rest of the email could be on the lines of, as part of our interview process for the marketing position role at Large Automation, I've attached a document with some key questions we'd like you to review beforehand. Please take some time to look through them and feel free to prepare any examples or insights you'd like to share during the interview. We are looking forward to hearing more about your experience and how it's aligned with the work we do here. You can access the interview questions documents right here. And then here we'll add the link of the interview questions. The link will get it from the Get Share Link module. The link will be the share link right here. And then the rest of the email could be in the lines of, if you have any questions or need further information, do not hesitate to reach out. Best regards, Brandon. And then click on OK. So that's the email that we are sending to our potential employees with the link to the interview questions we'd like for them to take a look at. To test if our automation is working perfectly, I'll run it. And then on Monday, I'll change the status of one of our employees to send interview questions. You can see that automation ran successfully. So here we triggered our webhook. We got their data here. We searched for our interview question documents on our Google Drive folder. We created a link for the interview questions, and then we sent the questions to our potential employees using this email right here. The subject line is interview questions for marketing specialist role. And then the content of the email is this one right here, where we are sending the potential employee interview question documents. This is the document that we are sending them right here. So with this automation, we just automated the process of sending interview questions to potential employees. After sending the potential employees the interview questions, we can choose to onboard only the qualified employees. Now, to onboard the qualified employees on our employee onboarding system, I'll create a new scenario. I've renamed this scenario to send assignments, onboarding checklists, and training materials to qualified employees. We can choose to qualify these employees via email. On emails, get the emails that the potential employees who we send the interview questions send us. So I'll get their emails. Now, here, I'll choose our folder. Our folder is going to be inbox. You can choose a criteria. You can see all emails. And then here, we can add a sender email address. We can also choose to filter using the recipient email address, from date, before date, the subject line, or a phrase in the email. We can choose to only get the potential employees who sent us an email with the subject line Lux Automation job application. And then the number of results, we're going to say 1. And then click on OK. Now let us run this module and see if we're going to get the emails. You can see we're getting an email with this subject line. Text content says, hi Dennis, here's my job application resume for the marketing specialist position in your company. Then they're adding the attachment right here. So this is their resume. It's a PDF. You can choose only the employees who sent us their resume and choose to only onboard those employees. I'll add these employees to our Monday.com CRM. Now, on Monday, I've also created another board called Hired Employees List. So here, we'll add all those employees that would like to onboard and hire them on this board right here. So we are collecting their full name, the email address, and the status will be hired. We're also getting the date we created them, and the last time we updated them. On Monday, I'm going to search for create an item, and then click on create an item. I'm going to choose our previous connection, which is employee hiring connection. Then we can add the item name. The item name, we're going to choose the sender name. Then for the board ID, this time around, we're not going to choose potential employees list, but we're going to choose hired employees list. Then for the group ID, I'm going to choose hired employees list. Then here we can choose the items that we would like to add to our Monday.com CRM. So for the date created, we're going to add the date they submitted our email. So this date right here. For their email address, we're going to add the email address right here. We're going to also use the email address as a text. I'm going to add another item. Then this time around, I'm going to choose the status. The status, we're going to label it as hired. And then click on OK. So now when we run this automation again, we're getting the employees that sent us an email with the subject line Lux Automation job application, and we're adding them to our Monday CRM right here. on the hired employees list. You can see we added Dennis over here, getting his full name, email, the status is hired, the date we created them, and the last time we updated them. Here, we can set up a filter and say attachment exists, just to filter the employees. And then here, you can say the attachment, you can say exists, and then click on OK. So if the resume exists, we can now add them to our Monday.com CRM. After adding them to our CRM, we can now begin sending them assignments, the onboarding checklist, and then training materials. On our Google Drive, we have the folder for the assignments, the onboarding checklist, and the training materials. So we can start by sending them the onboarding checklist, and then the training materials, and then send them the assignments. Here, I'll search for Google Drive, and then click on search for files and folder. So here, I'll rename these Google Drive module to onboarding checklist, and then click on OK. We're going to choose our folder, which in this case is employees documents. And we're going to retrieve files and folders. We're going to search with full text search. And then here we can add our text, which is onboarding checklist. You can limit it to 1. And then click on OK. And then now we can create a share link for this document. So here, I'll get a share link. You can rename it to onboarding checklist link. And then click on OK. For the file ID, I'm going to add the file ID to our onboarding checklist module right here. The role we can say reader, and the type we can say anyone with a link, and then click on OK. Besides the onboarding checklist, we can also send them training materials. So here I'll search for files and folders, and then choose the folder. Our folder is going to be employee documents. We're going to retrieve files and folders, and then here I'll perform a full text search and search for training materials. You can choose to limit it to 1, and then click on OK, and then rename this to training materials. And then click on OK. Now let us create a shareable link for the training materials documents. So on Google Drive, I'll click on get a share link. And then for the file ID, we're going to get the file ID for the training materials. This is right here. Role, you can say the reader, owner, writer, or commenter, but I'm going to leave it as reader. And then for the type, you can say anyone with the link. And then click on OK. And then here you can rename this to training materials link. And then click on OK. We can also get the assignments from our Google Drive and send them the assignments. So on Google Drive, I'll search for files and folder, then choose a folder, and then our folder is employees document. We're going to retrieve files and folders, and then I'll perform a full text search, and then the query is going to be assignments. Then you can limit it to 1, and then click on OK. You can rename this to assignments. I'm going to create a shareable link for the assignments documents. So on Google Drive, I'll get a share link. And then for the file ID, I'm going to add the file ID for the assignments. The role is going to be reader. You can say anyone with the link. And then click on OK. And then here I'll rename this onto assignments link. And then click on OK. With the checklist, training materials, and assignments link, we can send these links to our employee via email. So here, I'll search for email and then click on send an email. For the email, we're going to add the email address from our email. So for the email address, we're going to add the email address that is sent as the resume. The subject line could be on the lines of onboarding checklist, training materials, and initial assignments. For the content of the email, you can say hi name. Now the sender name right here. I'm excited to move forward with your onboarding process as you begin your journey with Lux Automation. To help you get started smoothly, I've added the onboarding checklist along with the training materials and your initial assignments. Please review these documents and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Here's a breakdown of what's included. Onboarding checklist, a step-by-step guide to help you settle in. Training materials, key resources to get familiar with our systems, processes, and tools. Initial assignments, your first tasks, which will help you dive into your role and understand the expectations. You can access everything using the following links over here. Then here we're adding onboarding checklist. So the onboarding checklist, we're going to get it from the onboarding checklist get share link. The training materials, we're going to get the link from training material get share link right here. For the initial assignments, we're going to get a link from the assignments link, get share link over here. Now the rest of the email could be on the lines of, I'm looking forward to working with you and supporting you during this transition. Let me know if you need any assistance along the way. Best regards, Brandon. And then click on OK. Then we can rename this email to send employee documents and then click on OK. To test if automation is working perfectly, I'll run it. So here we got the emails that our potential employees sent us, and we told them to attach a resume. And then if they have a resume attached to the email, we are adding them to our CRM. In this case, we're using Monday. And then we are getting our onboarding checklist from our Google Drive. We are creating the link for the onboarding checklist. We're also getting the training materials from our Google Drive. And then we are creating the link for the training materials. We're also getting the assignments from our Google Drive and creating the link for the assignments and sending the onboarding checklist, the training materials, and the assignments to our employee via this email right here. Email subject line is on the lines of onboarding checklist, training materials, and initial assignment. And then for the content of the email, this is the content of the email that we are sending to our employee. So this is the onboarding checklist. Here's the link of the onboarding checklist. The training materials, here's the link for the training materials. For the initial assignments, here's the link for the initial assignments right here. So with this simple automation that we just created, we just onboarded our employees. We are sending them an onboarding checklist, training materials, and initial assignments via email using the simple automation on make.com. So these are the 3 automations that I just created right now, automating the employee onboarding process for a business or an agency. You can set up these automations right now on make.com and automate the employee onboarding process for your business or your agency. If you have an automation or a system in mind that you'd like for me to create, just comment down below in the comment section. If I land on your comment and I find it intriguing, I'll come back on a future video showing you how to set up the entire automation from scratch. But for now, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.